Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel. My name's Destiny. My channel is all about lifestyle, fashion, and living in Nashville. So if you're interested, please subscribe and like. So today's video is all about the pros and cons of living in Nashville. So if you clicked on this video, most likely you are thinking about moving to Nashville. You maybe have already decided to come here, you already live here, or maybe you just want to learn more about Nashville. So I've been living in Nashville now for about 6 months. I moved here from Ohio, so now I have a better sense of living here, and kind of just being a Nashvilleian, I guess. I don't know what they call it. But so I'm here to just give you my pros and cons. These are all very subjective, just based off of where I'm from. I'm from Ohio. I moved to Nashville from Ohio. So a lot of these things are just from my own experiences and where I lived before. But hopefully you can find some really good tips within this video, and this may help you decide if you want to move to Nashville or not. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with my pros. I have my notebook here so I don't forget anything. So I decided to do 5 pros and 5 cons of living in Nashville. So my first pro is there is always something to do. Okay, whether it's summer, whether it's spring or fall, definitely summer though, there is always an event. There's an festivals. I think yesterday was the African festival. There's always concerts going on. You all may know that Nashville is called the Music City. So there is always concerts, whether it's in the winter, whether it's in the summer, they'll be outside. If you like live music, you can always catch live music. And there is just a ton of restaurants here. There's a ton of restaurants. And if you like to drink, there's a ton of bars, okay? There is always something to do. And with that, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I have a Instagram called Your Nashville Bestie. I'm going to put the name down below, and I'll talk about some of the restaurants and cocktail lounges around the city that I've been to, what I wore to them, so you'll know the kind of the attire of the restaurant or of the bar. So if you're interested, please check it out. But in Nashville, there's always something to do. You would never be bored. If you want to go out, there's places to go out. If you want to stay in and relax, well, of course, you have that option too. But you have endless amount of options, whether you like to be an outdoorsy person and you like to hike, or you like to drink and go to bars. There's a ton of them. If you're a foodie like me, I'm a foodie. There's a ton of restaurants that you can come and try. And let me know if you guys would like me to do a video dedicated to some of the restaurants and bars and places to go here in Nashville. Definitely comment below if you would like me to do something like that. So my next pro of living in Nashville is the people. The people here are so nice. So I'm coming from the Midwest, and I'm not gonna say Midwest people are rude, but some of them are not the nicest, okay? So that's one of the things that first attracted me to Nashville, was how pleasant the people are, whether you're in the grocery store, whether you're in line at the Taco Bell, no matter where you are, you run into some of the nicest people. And I don't know if that's like a Southern hospitality thing, but you'll meet some great people and have some great conversations with random people that you don't even know. People are just so pleasant here. I actually was in downtown yesterday, and a girl walked up to me and just started talking to me about my outfit, and then we just got to talking. So it's super easy to meet people, which I think that takes me to my third pro of living in Nashville. Is I feel like it's easy to meet people. So for me personally, when I moved here to Nashville, I did not move for school or for a job. I moved here just because I loved it and I wanted to. So, with that being said, um, because I didn't move here for school, I couldn't meet people at a school. Because I didn't move here for work, I have a job, but my job is remote. So it wasn't like I could meet people at work. So I had to try to find ways to meet other individuals, adults, and I found that it was very easy to meet other people. There's a ton of Facebook groups, so I would highly recommend that if you are moving to Nashville and want to meet people. Definitely go to Facebook groups and check some of them out. I would highly recommend that, or Meetup. If you go on the app Meetup, there's a ton of groups in Nashville where people meet up based off of your preferences. Like if you're like wine, there's wine groups. If you want to meet other women, there's women groups. So I would highly recommend that. But just being out and about, if you are an open person and you are okay with talking to strangers, and let me tell you guys, I'm 100% an introvert, so it's not always easy for me, but I've learned that like other people may come up to you if you're open to talk to them, exchange numbers, ask them, hey, do you guys want to go for drinks or whatever. So being in Nashville, it's fairly easy to meet new people if that's something that is of interest to you. My next pro of living in Nashville is the weather. So this is one of the subjective ones. I am coming from Ohio, and so our winters are winter, okay? It's cold, it's snow, all of that. And what I like about Nashville is they do have a winter. It does get cold here, but it doesn't get super cold, and it doesn't snow a lot. So me coming from the Midwest, I like that they have all 4 seasons here, but they're not very extreme. Well, like the winter is not extreme. The summer, I will say, is hot, but it's not an extreme hot. It may get, since I've been here in the summer, I think it may have maybe a couple of 100-degree weather days, but nothing that bad. So I love that Nashville has pretty good weather. If you're a person who likes all 4 seasons, if you like warm weather, it's a great place. And I think they have a pretty good fall. This is my first fall being here, but I'm really excited to see what comes out of fall in the weather. And I like to be able to coordinate my outfits. And now I come to my 5th pro and my last pro of living in Nashville, and that's the options of the living options. So apartments and homes. It is very easy to find an apartment or a house in Nashville that fits what you're looking for look-wise. When I moved to Nashville, before I came here, I toured a couple apartments. If you haven't seen, please check out my Nashville apartment tour video. And there is so many apartments here, and sometimes it's hard because you have so many options in different budget ranges, in which I'll talk about that in a sec. But there's so many different apartments. I love where I live at now, but as I'm living in Nashville and I'm learning about the different areas and I'm going places, I'll see other apartments. I'm like, ooh, I want to look to see, what that looks like. And maybe next year I'll move there, and because I like the neighborhood or the apartment looks nice. So you can find a lot of great, beautiful apartments here in Nashville. Houses too. I love driving around looking at houses. There's some beautiful houses here. Now they are above my price range, which I will get into. But Nashville, there's a ton of options. This city is continuously growing, which I love, and that's another pro that I didn't even add to my list. I just thought about that, but this city is growing so rapidly. There's always new apartments being built. So if you want something, a new build, you have that option. Townhomes too. So Nashville is really big in townhomes. They build up and not out, but I think townhomes are so cute. So if you're looking for apartments, townhomes, houses, whatever, you have that option here. But that also brings me to my first con of living in Nashville. My first con is the cost of living. Nashville is pricey, okay? Nashville can get expensive to live in, and I've learned that quickly. I didn't realize, before I moved to Nashville, I did not realize how expensive it was to live here. And a lot of people who are from here have said that the cost has went up within the last few years as more and more people start to migrate to Nashville. Of course, the cost of living rises. So when it comes to apartments, and I talk about this more in my apartment hunting video, if you want to live in the city, especially in places like Midtown, Downtown, the Gulch, Germantown, where you can get out, and places where you can get out and walk around, there's restaurants and things around you, you're going to be paying a nice penny, okay, to live in the city. And a lot of times I compare it to the prices of living in Atlanta. So for me, coming from Ohio, again, this is very subjective, coming from Ohio, the cost of living here is substantially more. But if you are a person who's moving from, say, California, who I know someone from California who moved here, the prices to them is just not as bad, okay? So it just all depends on where you're coming from, your budget, what are you looking for. But I will kind of take me back up to my other my last pro of there's tons of places to live. If you're okay with moving a little bit outside of Nashville, you can find some amazing places for a better price. You just may have to be willing to drive just a little bit, which again takes me to my number 2 con of living in Nashville, and that is traffic, okay? Again, subjective. I'm from Ohio, not saying there's no traffic, but there's just not as much traffic here. And so being in a bigger city, a busier city, there is a lot more traffic. It's not as much as I would say Atlanta or LA, but there's definitely a good amount. I've noticed more traffic when I'm going to like places outside the city, like Antioch, and those places, you're gonna run into a little more traffic, okay? If you're just rolling around in the streets, not as bad, but if you have to get on the highway and go a little bit outside, you may run into some traffic, especially if it is the busy hours, or the hours when people are going to work or getting off work. So when it's like morning hours when people are going to work, I would say traffic is the worst going from coming outside of Nashville into the city. Now, when people are getting off work, of course, it's the opposite. People going from in the city to outside the city. So that's just something to consider moving here. I will also say, and this is not a part of like the con or on my list, I'll just lump it in with traffic, but Nashville is a driving city. It's not easy to not have a car, okay? It's kind of a requirement here to have a car. It's not a requirement, but it's not, the public transportation system I don't think is that great. I mean, I haven't rode it, but I would just highly recommend someone who moves to Nashville do bring a car with them if it's possible, if you can. So still along the lines of transportation and cars, my third con of living in Nashville is parking. You guys, parking is a whole struggle here in Nashville, okay? So this is something, again, that I noticed right off the bat of living here is a lot of places you go that are, especially that are in the city, down, and not just downtown, but like Midtown, the Gulch, Germantown. I just went to a restaurant that was this morning. That's why I decided to do this video, y'all, because I was already dressed because I went to brunch. So I was like, let me come back home and be productive. But anyways, that was in South Nashville, and parking is a struggle. And when I say it's a struggle, I mean a lot of places you go, you'll have to find lots to park in or garages to park in, which means money, okay? So they do charge for parking at most places, a lot of places. Or I have gotten a little better. So when I first moved here, I felt the need to just find the most convenient parking, no matter how much it costs. But of course, like I said, the cost of living in Nashville is high. So I've had to, instead of finding the most convenient, I'm gonna find the cheapest and free, preferably, okay? So a lot of times I'll go and parallel park on the street or something like that. Like today when I went to brunch, I had to parallel park on the street, and your girl ain't the best parallel parker, but I've gotten better since living here because it's a requirement, okay? So parking is not always the best. What I do is, before I go somewhere, I always look to see what's their parking options. Do they have a parking lot? So some restaurants you go to, they'll have a parking lot attached. But again, if you're going to a restaurant in the city, most likely not. So you'll have to, so I'll look to see if there's any paid parking lots anywhere and how much they cost. I have noticed that surface parking lots, the parking is a little bit more expensive. Sometimes you can find a garage that the price isn't too bad, or again, a street nearby where you can parallel park, okay? So parking to me is definitely a con. It's not like a deal breaker. It wasn't a deal breaker for me personally. It's just something to consider if you're moving here. Y'all, I feel like I'm losing track of my cons, but I think I'm on number 4 now. So my number 4 con of living in Nashville is the bugs. Honey, your girl do not like the bugs. I am not a outdoorsy person. I'm not an insect person. I do not do those type of things. I do not like those type of things. But we are technically in the South, meaning bugs. So I'll say I don't think they're terrible, but a lot of restaurants in Nashville. Sorry y'all, my dog had a little squeaky toy. My bad. But I will say the bugs are not too bad. Again, we're in the South. Summer, I think, of course, they're a little worse. I hate wasps, and I feel like, not that they're everywhere, but they're everywhere, okay? You may run into a little wasp or two, okay? I haven't got stung by one, thank God, but, you know, I think it's inevitable no matter what. If you're living in the South, you're gonna have to be okay with a little bit more bugs maybe than if you live up north or the Midwest. But I don't think, for me, again, you guys, I'll say I hate bugs. I hate them. I know they are good for our ecosystem and our health, and that we wouldn't be alive if there wasn't bugs. But y'all, I don't like them. I don't want them. I don't want them in my space. I do not want them in my home. And I have a lot of plants. As you see, this is real. I have a lot of real plants. If you guys want me to do a video on my plants, let me know. But I'm a plant girl, and I still do not like bugs, and don't want them in my home. I would say I haven't really had a lot in my home, but it's just something to consider. It's not, to me, there's not so many bugs that's a deal breaker. But if you are an outdoors person, you should be fine. And I try to be, sometimes I try to, you know, go to the park and all that cute stuff. But you have to be okay with maybe a little bit more bugs than what you're used to. But again, Nothing terrible. I haven't seen any like flying roaches or anything too crazy. But I was saying, a lot of the restaurants here are indoor-outdoor options, and I love to sit outdoors if the weather is good, if it's not too hot or raining or anything. And sometimes the bugs can get you, okay? They can get you. Having the little outdoor indoor type of thing. But I will say, if you are okay with, seeing a little bug every now and again, it shouldn't be it shouldn't be a deal breaker. So my fifth and last con of living in Nashville, and you guys, some people might think I'm crazy for this con. And it's not like a true con, it's a subjective con. It's just me, okay? And that is, it's Broadway. Okay, and not even just Broadway. So if you don't know, Broadway is a street downtown Nashville, and it's like the main street with lots of bars, lots of people, lots of drunk people, music. It's an experience, and I would recommend, if you have not been to Broadway, definitely come to Broadway if you're in Nashville so you can get the experience. But y'all, I hate Broadway. And it's so funny because a friend of mine was in town in Nashville and they wanted the Nashville experience. So I took them to Broadway, okay? Took them to Broadway so they can get the Nashville experience. And they didn't even like it. It can be overwhelming. It is lots of people all the time. It's a lot of drunk people all the time. It's very compact. You can barely hear anything because you have a million different bars. Let me not say a million different, y'all, I'm being dramatic. But you have all these bars with live music playing out of all of them. So you hear several different things. People outside smoking. It's a lot going on, okay? And then the issue that I have is a lot of times when you want to go and get a drink, the bars are so packed that you can't even get a drink inside the bar and enjoy it. So Broadway is a con for me because a lot of people come to Nashville for the bachelor and bachelorette parties, and which I love because I feel like the money that Nashville gets from tourism, it feeds into the community and helping build and bring companies here and beautiful apartments and hotels and things to do. So tourism is very important. But Broadway, that street, even downtown, sometimes can be a little much. You'll go and then you'll have to deal with people, drunk people touching you, and it's the worst. It drives me crazy. But again, I think it's something that everybody should experience, but it's just not for me personally. Yeah, and I think a lot of the Broadway activity kind of spills out into the other, outside of just Broadway, the street. And it could be a lot, y'all. It could be, and I'm a person, it's too many people for me, okay? But that's my last time of living in Nashville. Okay, that was all of my pros and cons of living in Nashville. Just from final words, I will say that none of the cons for me is a deal breaker. I honestly love living here. Like I said, there's tons of things to do. The people itself, I feel like, outweigh any con that was on that list. And they are all very subjective. They're things that, based off of someone else's experiences and things that they've done or been through, that they might not feel is a con. So I would say if you are looking to move to Nashville or even visit, definitely come here, look, get the entire experience, see how you feel about it, look at some apartments. It's a great place. And say it is absolutely beautiful here. It's a great place to be. People are friendly. You'll have a great experience. So I hope this video helps you with your decision of moving to Nashville, or just if you want to visit here. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel for more videos. And definitely leave a comment if you have any other pros and cons of living in Nashville. Let me know. But thank you all for joining my video. Please go and follow my Instagram page, Nashville Bestie. If you want to learn and see more cocktail bars and restaurants, places that I like to go here in the city, I would love to interact with you even more. So I thank you for joining, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.